What's going on, everybody? This is the Oregon Football Report. I am your host, Will Ortner, and we got some really good news surrounding three of your Oregon Ducks, our Oregon Ducks. And then after we get into that on today's show, we do have to talk a little bit about what's going on with Dallas Wilson and could he be making a return? And I'm going to claim it is a return to the Oregon Ducks. More on that in just a moment. So everyone knows who the big three wide receivers are that are on the injury report right now for the Oregon Ducks. Dakorien Moore and Bryant Jr. obviously got hurt this year. Dakorien Moore got hurt in the build-up to that Iowa game. Bryant Jr. got hurt in that Iowa game. Would either player be able to come back this year? It felt like there was good news that they could potentially come back. They might be coming back sooner than you think. And then Evan Stewart, the long shot. I guess maybe he could come back at some point. Sounds like he's closer than we all realize. Before we get into that, though, help us grow the show. Obviously, we just started the channel. We're not even a week old yet. Help us out. Share the video on social media to all of your other Oregon Duck football friends and family members. Help them learn about what we're doing here on the channel. Have them come on in. Then they can subscribe and they can join our Oregon Football Report family. Thank you guys so much. All right. So we're going to dive into what Zachary Neal had to say here. He was over at Oregon football practice, and now there was a little bit of an open media session. And guess who was participating in the open media session? Dakorien Moore, Bryant Jr., and Evan Stewart. They were all suited up. All of them were out at practice, moving around with the team. It looked like, hey, maybe they'll be ready to go for that James Madison game. And oh boy, what does that mean for the crew? Right now, when you look at Dakorien Moore, he was the number one wide receiver for the Oregon Ducks this year. The freshman wide receiver out of Duncanville was absolutely fantastic. Not only did he have great stats this year when it came to his receptions, his yards, and getting into the end zone, but I was really impressed with what Dakorien Moore was willing to do when it came to the blocking game and the blocking schemes over at that wide receiver position. Remember early on in the year, I believe it was against Montana State, where Dakorien Moore absolutely puts the cornerback on his back for a touchdown. I believe it was Kenyon Sadiq. And then after the game, Dan Lanning goes, well, hey, look, it's a great effort. I love that he was putting that guy through the turf, but he was actually blocking the wrong guy. Those are the things that actually helps Dakorien Moore and help this Duck offense, because you have a wide receiver that isn't afraid to get physical. Now, the Ducks do have to make sure that he's blocking the correct guy, but when Dakorien Moore is blocking the correct guy, he's a great wide receiver blocker. It helps lead to bigger runs for this Oregon team. And then, I mean, you can't even say enough about what he does out there on the outside for this Ducks football team. I'm excited to get Dakorien Moore back, and I do believe that he'll be back for this JMU game. Now, I understand I'm a bit young. I'm only 28 years old. Is it possible that I might be a bit hyperbolic when I say that Dakorien Moore is the best freshman wide receiver in Ducks history? Some of you old heads, let me know if I've forgotten about a wide receiver. Maybe there's a receiver that, I simply seem to have just overlooked. Maybe I'm buying a bit too much into the recency bias when it comes to Dakorien Moore, and I've been a bit too much focused on what he's been able to do this past season. But I kind of believe he might be the best freshman wide receiver to ever come through Oregon. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Now, on to Bryant Jr., another Oregon Ducks wide receiver who had a fantastic year. And this shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Bryant Jr. is a veteran. He's been around college football for quite a while. Just under that 300 yards for the year, 4 touchdowns. I don't necessarily think that's a Bryant Jr. issue. I think that's more of an issue of how good this Oregon Ducks football team is. When you have Bryant Jr. out there, Dakorien Moore, you have Malik out there as well, McClellan as well. There's just so many different targets that the Ducks can throw to and Dante Moore can throw to that sometimes you're going to see these stat lines actually look worse than other wide receivers or other tight end stat lines simply because, well, there's too many weapons and Dante Moore has to make sure everyone gets the ball. Getting Bryant Jr. would be an added benefit to this squad. I'd be excited to see him out against JMU. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Help us out. We're growing like wildfire right now. We're a little over 1,200 subscribers. Help us get to that 1,500 mark. Now, we've already seen the other two, Gary Bryant Jr. and Dakorien Moore, play in this 2025 offense. We know how they fit into the scheme and how they fit into the system and how they can help it flourish. You might be able, though, to add a player that could take this offense to the next level simply because we've never seen him perform in it. And that, of course, is Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart was supposed to be wide receiver 1 for this offense at the beginning of the year. And when I mean beginning of the year, I'm, of course, talking about spring ball, because that's really when the 2026 season starts. At least that's what my college coach used to say back at Central Washington University. Evan Stewart was fantastic last year as that wide receiver number 2 option. He could take the top off the defense, got electric speed, as well as fairly decent hands, I would say. What could be massive for the Ducks is adding a veteran presence like Stewart on the outside, because he knows how to beat good teams deep. We have seen him go up against the likes of Ohio State, go up against Michigan, go up against, hey, look, I understand it's not the same defense, but Penn State last year, and he performed at an incredibly high level. Now, he's missed this entire year because he had a patellar tendon tear, which is a horrific injury that I don't wish on anybody. But if he is able to come back and be better than ever, oh boy, you really got to like that and what this team could be. Help us out, like this video. So, getting back these wide receivers would be massive for the Oregon Ducks, not just because you'd finally be at full strength, but you'd be at the most full strength that we've seen this team be all season long. And we'd be able to see what Dante Moore could really do with this offense. Now, I may be getting ahead of myself just a little bit. I might be a little bit over my skis. Hey, because they were out at practice, but it was a shells session. What does that mean? That means you got uppers on. There's no lower body. There's no tackling. There's no taking anybody to the ground. But it does seem like it is a positive step forward for all 3 of these wide receivers. It's hard to believe that they'd be able to go out and practice in this fashion on a Monday and not potentially be able to play on Saturday. Now, Dan Lanning did have this to say, and in classic Dan Lanning fashion, he said a whole lot of nothing. Everybody's closer than they were yesterday. It's good seeing guys out there. Thanks, Dan. You really were informative for us. Now, Ducks offensive coordinator and soon-to-be Kentucky Wildcats head football coach Will Stein did go into a little bit more detail on what it would be like getting these 3 wide receivers back. Okay. I think those guys are working back and feel good about their prep up to this point to give us an opportunity to potentially see them versus JMU. Oh, so Will Stein thinks we might be able to see all 3 wide receivers. That's a good sign for the Ducks. Not all speculation in this video. I'd love to have everybody back. Being full strength going into this game against James Madison would be very good for us. I think this is important, too, that Duck fans don't fully realize. You want all 3 of these wide receivers back because they need to knock the rust off. You can't just jump off the injury report and instantly be back to being what you were at the end of the season, or for Dakorien Moore and Gary Bryant Jr. before you got hurt. You need ramp-up time. And so I'd love to see all 3 of those wide receivers play against JMU. Will they play? Are we going to see all 3 wide receivers play against JMU? Type Y for yes. Type N for no down below in the comment section. I'll tell you right now, you're going to see a whole lot of Ys from me in the comment section. I would go into this one and be spamming that Y for yes. Now, help us out. Make sure that you go in and like this video. I already plugged it once, but you really like it when the Ducks get all their players back? I do too. So come on in and smash that like button while you're also down there in the comments. Okay, last little piece. DJ Lagway entered the transfer portal yesterday. Hey, this is why you should like the video and always come back by subscribing. The minute that DJ Lagway entered the portal, we talked about how that would affect Oregon here on the channel. But there's another option with the DJ Lagway leaving Florida that could end up helping and benefiting this Oregon football team. Could Dallas Wilson, the big, strong receiver from Florida, enter into the transfer portal and come back to Oregon? Now, I guess I probably shouldn't say come back to Oregon because he did sign his letter of intent to go to Oregon, and he left it there for 2 weeks before he eventually came back to Dan Lanning and the rest of that Oregon staff and said, hey, I'd actually like my release. I'd like to be closer to my family. And that's how he ended up at Florida. But Dallas Wilson could be a huge addition to this Ducks team because he adds in a different element. He's a bigger bodied receiver. He was going to be the number 2 wide receiver in that class for the Ducks, Dakorien Moore being number 1. But there is an added benefit to getting Wilson because he plays a completely different style than anybody else that was already on the squad. And like I said, Wilson already signed with the Ducks. So he already has a relationship with a decent chunk of this staff. Now, there is some speculation on if he would follow DJ Lagway. Maybe they are a package deal. Maybe he still ends up staying over at Florida. John Summerall is a great coach. Maybe he brings in an offense that would make Wilson want to stay in Florida. But if he does enter that portal, would he be someone that you would want in Eugene next season? Do you want Dallas Wilson in Eugene next year? Type Y for yes. Type N for no down below in the comment section. I'll tell you right now, I think it'd be fun to have the smaller speedster like Dakorien Moore matched up with that bigger target Dallas Wilson, especially if Kenyon Sadiq is going to move on to the National Football League. Dallas Wilson could instantly become your big red zone target. Help us out. Share the video on social media just like we asked earlier on. You want more Oregon Duck fans to come in and join our family, tuning in every single day to our Ducks content here. Help us out. Share that video. And, of course, subscribe to the channel. We are growing like wildfire. Don't miss out on your opportunity to subscribe to Go Ducks TV, a.k.a. the Oregon Football Report. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time.